Are live. Hello, Maud.
Hello, Rebecca. Hello, people of the internet.
Hello, everyone. Yeah. So the readathon is over, which means we can kind of go into hibernation mode for the next 24 hours, catch up on some of the lost sleep we might have had. I'm not sure.
You.
Yeah, I lost some sleep. How about you?
No, because I had a goal of 5 books. I only finished two. I do need to get some catching up with my sleep, but that's mostly because of schoolwork instead of reading. So I will sleep and I will read.
Okay. I think I only had one instance where I was up really late. Like most of the time I was done reading about 10:30 and I'd have like my update video, which I didn't do very well with my update videos.
I didn't
um
make any.
yeah, it's do you know what? It kind of adds a bit more pressure having to do the update videos. Like I keep track of every day's like stuff and I think I'm not I don't know. I don't really like doing the update videos because I feel like I need to like put other information in there about what I did during the day. So I don't know. I think I just prefer doing wrap ups at the end. But I only had one night where I was actually up past 11:30, and I forget what day it was. I think it might have been Thursday night, Friday morning kind of thing. Because I was up and I decided to just like start reading another book, and I read like the beginning of a book, and it was like 1:30 when I went to bed, which was not good at all. But
Wow. I was
yeah,
trying to read at night, but I had internship Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. That sucked big time because that just I lost so many readings hours because of that. Then I also had to hand in some essays and do a presentation, hold a speech, still to write that actual speech. So I also had 2 days of school. Then a couple of classmates came over, and it was just like the whole world decided, no more. This isn't your readathon week. It's not going to be that at all. Forget it. So
doesn't that
but
always happen though?
yeah. I think so.
Yep.
But I am actually really happy with the 2 books that I did manage to read because I really, really, really enjoyed them both. So, that's cool. How did you
Yeah.
do about it? How many books did you finish?
I finished 6 books, but I feel
Ah,
like I should maybe count the sixth one as 7, like 2 books in
why?
one. Like on Monday, I finished Deadly Cool,
Yeah.
and then on Tuesday, I finished Uncommon Criminals. I just had like a really good reading streak with the books I started for this readathon. Wednesday, I finished Artemis Fowl. Thursday, I finished Girl in the Arena. That book I read in less than 24 hours. I'm pretty impressed with myself. Friday, I finished A Spy in the House. Saturday, I finished nothing. That day was kind of, I mentioned on Friday, I kind of hit the wall with my reading. So I was like, I don't know if I can continue. I felt like
Yeah,
that.
a week is a very long time, so it's I think it's normal that at some point you hit a wall and enough is enough.
Yeah. I was like that person in the desert who's like dehydrated and starting to see things. I was past seeing things. I was just like, get me somewhere. But on Sunday, I did finish another book. I finished The Host.
Nice. Okay, okay. I want to hear of every book that you read. How did you feel about them? Every one of them. Give it. Give it to me.
Okay. Well, maybe you should mention the books that you finished first, though.
I read The Siren. I started it on Monday. I finished it on Thursday. And then on Thursday, I started School for Good and Evil. And I finished that one on Sunday.
Woo! Good job, Maud. I'm
Yay!
wondering I'm wondering what other people finished as well during the readathon. I'm pretty impressed. You finished The School for Good and Evil. That book was almost 500 pages, I do believe. It's like 494 or something. And
Yes.
I I took like a month to finish that. You are a fast reader, Maud.
I read about between 50 and 60 pages in an hour, but it was just so good. It was so mind-blowing, amazing. I love the characters, I love the story, and I mentioned this already through our email contact thingy, but it reminded me so much of Wicked in a way. And I love Wicked. I've actually seen the musical twice, and I just love it so, so, so much. So I don't know, I picked it up, and from page one, I was just in love with it. I couldn't stop reading. I had to. Sadly, some classmates came up, but I was actually, and I feel really bad for saying this, I was actually kind of hoping that they would leave very early so I could pick up my book. I feel so bad for saying this, but I really felt that way. It was so good. It was so, just so perfect for me. It was amazing. And Siren.
I know.
Siren was also freaking
Oh,
amazing. It has officially gotten the title, second book that made me cry.
really? Oh
Yeah.
my word.
The only other book that made me cry is Assassin's Blade, which is the book that comes kind of in between Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight.
Okay. The little
The
short
book that,
novellas.
yeah, that was the first one that got me crying, but this one I was sitting in the train and I was tearing up and I was like, no, I can't cry. I'm sitting in the train. I can't cry. I can't. It was so good. It was so, so amazing.
Do you have a crush on a Kinley like I did?
Yeah, maybe a little bit, a little.
A little bit as it gets like gradually bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Now
I am so happy that you read those books.
it was so good. Now I need a world without princess. I just need it in my life.
I'm not saying anything. I haven't read it, so I can't tell you anything actually. So, yeah, I'm really happy you read those because those are two that I read and I really, really loved. And not a lot of people I find that, like, maybe I watch on YouTube or I talk to in person at times have read them. So I'm like, who can I talk to about, say, the emotions that I feel at different points in The School for Good and Evil and the love that I have for Kinley's character and the overall story of how it was done in The Siren. So it's nice to have somebody else that I can basically fangirl with.
He's amazing. Tell me, how did you feel about each and every book that you read? Did you like them all? Did you?
Okay, so I had basically a wide range going on with where I felt with books. Like the first one I finished was Deadly Cool. I had a very small amount of that book left on Monday, and oh my word, it was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. I was not expecting that. Like I was hopeful for like a really good book, but it was brilliant. Like the character is very witty and it was just hilarious. I enjoyed every moment of that book. And literally when I read the synopsis for the second one, the first word basically grabbed me and made me want to read the next one in this. I don't know if it's going to be a trilogy or whatnot, but when somebody says Twitter side, the act of being murdered while you're on like your Twitter or something, I was like, I need to read this. Like the author is brilliant. I loved it. And then I read Uncommon Criminals, which just put me even more over the moon because it was so good, so good, so good. I uh, I love that one. I don't
Hey,
even have words to describe it. Yeah, Hale's great. I love
how did
Simon.
you in this book?
Hmm?
How did you feel about Hale in this book?
Very intrigued. I don't want to go into
Mm,
details, but very intrigued with some things that went down in the book. But I must say, I think I might have liked Simon's character so much more in this second one.
I know,
Seriously,
but you have to pick up
you
the
can
book
have.
because it's
Yeah, I
actually
need to pick up
dedicated
the
to
third
the
one.
Hale girls.
Ooh. Here's the thing. What's interesting is we've mentioned this before, at least I have, and that is you can have Hale. I won't fight you over that, but I definitely get Simon. seriously, I get Simon.
That's that's okay. We can go on a double date.
Oh yeah. The next one I ended up finishing was Artemis Fowl, and this one I'm a little in between. Like, there's certain books that I need more than like 24 hours to get my emotions straight with how I feel with it. Part of me liked it, but part of me didn't. I found it kind of a little slow for me, and I think it's because of something that I really want to discuss in like a video, and that's perception, like how you perceive the story or the characters based on how the author has written it or has shared information with you. I
Okay.
personally find it very intriguing when an author takes kind of what is considered a bad character, has you follow them, and then kind of has it seem like they're good characters. I don't know how else to explain that. So I'm kind of on the in between right now with Artemis Fowl because I'm still trying to get certain things straight in my head with how I feel about some stuff that went down in that story. The next one I read was Girl in the Arena. And I know that you're really intrigued by this one when I was talking to you about it. I think I'm on the side of I liked it. There was quite a bit in it that I thought was really intriguing that I really liked. And then there's other things in it that just like right out of the park. Like there's one scene I told you, like even now, it just pops in my head without me even thinking about it, and it just creeps me right out. Um, but again, it's got like my favorite kind of character. Like if they don't have the glasses on, they're like this really gorgeous guy, but then when you put the glasses on, they're a little bit like, I don't want to, like, no offense, men, I wear glasses, but they look a little more geeky. And every time the one character put the glasses back on, I was like, hey, hi, it's me. Because that's just the character that I kind of like in the story.
That's okay.
A Spy in the House was one that um, I really liked. It was different from what I'm used to, and I think that the way that the author did it was quite intriguing. I really, really liked that one. I'm excited to kind of share my thoughts on it when I review it with to hear other people's opinions on things because I think it's one that was written so well, and it's because the author is very well knowledgeable about what she was writing about. So I think that's what made that really great. And then the final book was The Host, which I know you were most excited for me to read. I can't
Yeah.
believe in 7 days I read that book, and I was not expecting to have read that fully in 7 days. I was so excited to finish it. Um, there were some things that I had a problem with, but overall, I really loved the story, and I was thinking, I was thinking through most of it that it seems more like I've mentioned this before. It seems more like a new adult without like what it seems like all of the new adult stories kind of focus on. This didn't, and it just really gave that same feel because we're following Wanda, who's in Melanie's body. I'm not spoiling anything. This happens at the start of the story for anyone who hasn't read it. And she's 21, I do believe, in the story, Melanie's character. So she is in that age range, or maybe she's 20. I can't remember now. She's not like really really like teenager age anymore. She's more in like your and my age range. So that really seemed to connect with me. Like I really liked the way that the author wrote it. And surprisingly, when I got to the back, it stated this is the author's first novel for adults. And I didn't really feel like it was an adult novel. I felt like it was perfect for my age range, really, and I hope that it does stay as a standalone. Although, if the author wanted to write like a continuation from where this one ended, not following like a different character, I don't know
Hmm.
if I would have like a problem with that. But the idea of her writing another character's point of view and maybe retelling the same story from the host, I don't really know if I'd want to read that. But yeah,
Yeah.
I really
You know,
like the host.
She actually said something about a sequel. She said that she might write a sequel, but she's kind of doubtful because she said, if I'm going to write a sequel, lots of my favorite characters are going to die. So I'm not sure if I want to do this.
Hmm. That's usually what happens, is people aren't too impressed when that happens. But you know what? I really came to like character deaths. That may sound really sick, but I'm serious. I read this one series where there was maybe one or two deaths, but nothing else happened, and it was like a really dangerous world. And I was kind of like, what? Are they like the protected in this series? Like no one dies. What's going on here? So I've come to like character death. Yes, I will mourn the character. I will get upset if it's a character that I care about that dies, but I do understand that it's needed because it will progress the story. But yes, I really did enjoy the host. I'm not sure. I do really think that it's best left as a standalone. Although if they wanted to make a sequel to the movie, I have no complaints. Because there's certain things that were in the book that weren't in the movie, and I think that would be really intriguing. They could make an entire another movie over things that were in the book that wasn't in the movie at this point in time. I'd like that.
It's interesting if they did a movie about Melanie's uncle building up his whole little society underground.
Hmm, that would be
I would love to
intriguing.
see how
Or
each and
even,
every person that lives there came to him and how they built this whole rain stuff and light and water. How did they do it? I would love to see that.
or even how like Jamie and Jared, how they were doing their
Yeah,
little
how they
journey.
went after Melanie got caught.
hmm Overall,
Yeah.
though, I found that every day, like, I really kept consistent with certain numbers, like pages that I was reading. And I think that's interesting because I basically just devoted all of my time. Like, I wasn't really watching stuff at all during the week. I just devoted my time to reading. And I think that's why I maybe up until Friday kind of just burnt out because then I started like I was watching things or I was doing other things as well. And I think that's one thing that I needed to maybe do more because most of my time was just taking up reading, and the time that I wasn't, I was either at the gym or I was sleeping. So, or eating because I still ate my 3 meals a day, but I think I needed to put more breaks in there. Maybe
Yeah.
take the dog out and play with her or something.
You had the exact opposite of the problem. I wanted to read, but I couldn't read because I had so much other stuff to do. But I think it's best probably to have kind of a bit of a balance because, indeed, otherwise, probably at the end of the week, you'll kind of be like, reading, and want to do something else. Move it.
Yeah.
How did you feel
Um,
about the reading sprints?
about what?
Reading sprints.
Oh, the reading sprints. That's what I was going to talk to you about as well. I participated in the 2 reading sprints that you held. I don't know anyone else who did. I really enjoyed them. And you know what? Remember how we were talking earlier about how like you mentioned how this week it was kind of like the world saying, "No, you're not participating in a readathon this week." That's kind of what happens whenever like a readathon happens and you're like, "I'm not going to participate in it." That week it's like your entire schedule clears up because you thought you had stuff going on. And then when you say you're going to participate, it's like your calendar gets booked.
Yeah.
And it happened the same thing with the reading sprints. Basically, I would get started on the reading sprint. I'd be sitting there, my phone in front of me for the clock, and then my water beside me, and I'd be reading. And then, like, the dog would come over, or my parents would come in, and they'd be like, "Rebecca, can you?" And I'm like, and they're like, "We'll get someone else." I'm like, "Thank you."
Give
I really enjoyed
15
them.
minutes of peace. 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was like I needed to like go to like a quiet area where no one knew I was hiding for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed them. It gave me a chance to kind of look at what my reading speed is, and because I was reading two different like print-sized books, the first day I was reading. What was I reading the first day? We did it on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday. On Thursday, I was reading Girl in the Arena for the reading sprint, and then on Friday I was reading A Spy in the House. And the prints were different sizes for both of those, but I was roughly around the same page length for both times. So it looks like I can read about, I'd say roughly 11 to 13 pages in 15 minutes. So that's not that bad. It's not really, really fast, but it's not that bad either.
Yeah, I was reading School for Good and Evil on both days, and I actually both days read 13 and a half pages. So I was very consistent in that. I had this little pager and I set it to 15 minutes, and I was working with a page of page number 13 on the second day. I was like, yeah, I can make 14 pages. And then it went off and I was like, no, I can't do it. Forget it.
Yeah. It's kind of one of those ones where you really push yourself to read it. And I find at times that I would, like, be reading through and then I'd, like, pull my clock over to look at the time, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, I was reading, but I wasn't paying attention to what I was reading, so I had to, like, read that passage yet again, like the one or two sentences that I tried to read. And I'm like, I can't multitask anymore. What's going on here?
Yeah, I had it. At some point, I was read as fast as I could, and then I was like, wait, what have I been reading? I don't remember.
Did you have any interesting, like, experiences with your reading, like with regards to maybe listening to music when you were reading something, or you had the TV on or something, or someone came and told you something and you were reading? Like, any funny stories from when you were reading?
Um, let's see. I live alone, so luckily I didn't have anybody bothering me.
Oh,
Don't actually,
nice.
but I was sitting in the train and I was reading the siren at that point. And I think it was very close actually also to the page number where I would start crying. And there were these couple of girls, and they annoyed me so much. They were talking about this very stupid stuff and just clothes and fashion, and I can't care. No matter what, I don't give a damn. And they were talking, and I was like, I almost wanted to get up and tell them, can you please shh? I'm almost crying now, shh. But I didn't do it. And then they were finally gone. And then some elderly people came in, and they started to do the same thing. And I was just like, okay, the world is truly against me reading. So at that point, I pulled out my iPod and I started to listen to music. And then I was like, oh, this is a great song, yay! And I was like, wait, I need to read. So that kind of thing happened to me kind of actually all week through.
Okay. Oh, Philippe, the YA reader, mentioned the host is huge. Yes, it is huge. It's quite a large book. But luckily, it wasn't really boring, so I could get through it at a fast pace. Continue, Maud. Sorry to have interrupted. I noticed when
I was
comments
actually
pop up at
done.
times.
I didn't really have anything funny happening to me, I guess. It was just the world was so against me reading. It's crazy. But, when I finally got back home after school, what I did, I pulled all the curtains closed. I locked all doors and windows. I grabbed a blanket. I got a cup of tea. And I was sitting, and I was like, okay, if anybody bothers me now, I will kill you. And I picked up School for Good and Evil actually at a point, so everything went very smooth at a point.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think, ooh, what happened? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Oh, there's my picture. Okay. I was like, what's going on here? Um, yeah, I think the only interesting stories I have to tell is, like, I would get asked to, like, go down to some laundry baskets or something, and I'd be in, like, a really interesting point of a book, and I'd be like, yeah, but I'd go and do it. Or the best ones were probably the shadow interruptions, because if any of you have seen how cute and adorable Shadow is, you'll know. You just can't keep a book in front of you when
You
she's coming
can't
around
ignore
you going,
Shadow.
yeah. She's like, just give me some attention. You're like, I give you some attention. There goes the book. So I think those are probably the most interesting stories I have. I know Shadow, she wanted up on the couch the Friday when we were doing the read-a-thon. Or was it Thursday? It was Friday, I think. And she wanted up on the couch. She got her front end up, but her back end just wasn't getting that high. So I had to put my book down and help her up. And then there's other times when I'd be snacking on maybe like a piece of cheese or something, and she'd come over and she'd just look at you and be like, "Can I have that cheese?" And you're like, "Okay, you can have that cheese."
Wow.
She'd eat all my food if I let her. Like you have to learn when you're eating, don't look at her. Don't look. You're lost. You're gone if you look at her.
Oh, I'm so lucky for not having any pets currently. I do want to get pets, but not during a readathon. Not this side.
Um, so what did you think overall of this readathon, hosting it, and you had to host the reading sprint, so you get to talk about that as well. What did you think about the overall hosting it
I
experience?
really liked it. I just wish that I had more time, especially with the reading sprints. We only could have like 2 for now, just because I was so freaking busy. So I felt really disappointed because I had like, oh, I'm going to do it every day, or maybe Monday and Wednesday, and just I was way too busy. On Monday, I was thinking maybe I should hold a sprint, but I get up on Monday at 5:30 a.m. and I get back home around 6 p.m. So I was way too tired, and I was just like, I want to hold a sprint, but I'm just too tired. Overall, I just really enjoyed doing this, and personally, I'm voting for again next year.
Yeah, you need like an entire 12 months to recoup.
Yeah, yeah. And then whenever we hold it next year, I'll actually already be done with college. So I won't have anything of stupid essay homework problems anymore. Finally.
See, and I'll be the opposite of you then, because you'll be done with college, and around this time next year, I'm going to be somewhere else in this world doing my co-op, so I'll be working my butt off working on my co-op for my program. So I'll be the opposite of you.
I will
That will
be
be
going home.
interesting to see.
At that point, I will be busy with school and stuff. So I can take a week off. How did you like being like the main organizer of this riff when you came up with the idea? Did you like how it turned out?
Do you know what? I didn't really feel like I was the main one running it. Like, I kind of feel like when I kind of have an idea, I bring it to you because I know that you're someone who I can always bring a reading idea to, and you're like, yeah, let's go with that. And I didn't feel like I was the main one running it. I felt like pretty much you and everybody else who was participating as well were pretty much running it ourselves, because although I find that readathons are great for everyone, they are very individual as well. They're very personal because you're the one choosing what you're going to read. You're the one setting your standards. You're the one deciding what you're going to do and what you're
I
not going to
didn't
do.
know I was going to read.
Yeah. So
I
I
didn't
always
know
find
I
that
did.
so I always feel like I like asking me how I felt being the main organizer. Like I didn't feel like that at all. So hopefully I did a good job. I don't know if I did or not. I hope I did,
I
but
think
I
you.
don't feel like thanks. I don't feel like I did though.
How did you feel about the whole trying to update every day or maybe 2 days in one update video?
Well, I started off strong. I did my update the first day. I had my update for the second day. Like, I had it recorded, and I was trying to get it to upload to my computer, and then I was trying to get it to go into my editing software, which usually doesn't take that long to, like, upload from my computer onto my editing. But it was going to take, like, 3 hours, and I'm like, what's going on here? So I then missed the second day. I think if I'd had it, like, working perfectly, I would have stayed strong with doing every day. And then the next day I did day 2 and day 3. And then day 4, I was like, do you know what? I'd rather read longer than like do an update video. So I didn't do an update on day 4, and I'm like, I'll do day 5. And then it got really late on day 5, and I was like, I don't feel like doing an update. I'm like, I'll just do it on day 6. And then I realized day 6, we're doing the live show, so I'm like, I'm not going to do an update video. And then Sunday, I don't do videos at all. So I was like, yeah, I don't really like doing update videos. I've realized that by the end of the week. It just kind of takes up more time that I could do, say, read or something else. I think if I wasn't running if I was just like a participant, then I might like doing update videos a bit more. I don't really know. I think I'll have a chance next month to maybe try that out. You never know.
So next time, no update videos if we do the Get Your Read on Read-a-Thon again.
Yeah, do you know what? The last couple times I've done, I did the 30-day reading, the 30-day read-a-thon, is that what it was called? I think so. And then I did the booktube-a-thon last July, and then I did the Christmas booktube-a-thon last December. I just did wrap-ups at the end. Like with the 30-day reading sprint, I did an update every 10 days because 30 days is a long time for a read-a-thon. And then the other ones, I just did an update at the end of the week because I feel like I'm rehashing everything every single time, whereas I could just make it really, really quick in one video, share everything, and it's not where people have to worry about watching like numerous videos. I don't know how people felt with the update videos. They kind of lacked partway through the week, but I don't know. Although I like watching them, I understand why people mention like they're a pain to do because it takes up a lot of time to film it. Then you've got to edit it if you have like some glitches in the video, and then you have to upload it, and it takes time. Like I would start it uploading like around 10-11 o'clock at night, between that time frame, and I'd go to bed because I'd be exhausted. So I would lose about another hour's worth of reading trying to get that video going.
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, I understand that. You know, I don't have an editing software, so in general, I try to do it like in one take. But especially with these updates, I tell, okay, today I read this book and this many pages, and then I'm like, I don't know what I need to say anymore. And then I'm always thinking, is it worthwhile filming for like 2 minutes, but probably losing half an hour with getting everything set up and ready and doing all that stuff. So I personally always do a wrap up at the end, just because I sometimes also definitely don't feel like it if it's getting late. I did my first readathon about a year ago, and I did daily updates, but it was just so exhausting, and reading itself can be exhausting enough during a readathon, I think.
Mm-hmm. Especially because for me, like there are 6 of us living in this house, and sometimes, I think last year around the read-a-thon for the booktube-a-thon, I think my sister was home, so that's 7 people, 2 dogs, 3 with my sisters, and it's like I've got to try to find like a time where it's quiet back here. Like most of the time you can hear noise in the background, and that's either, say, my siblings laughing at a movie they're watching or the dryer or washer going, so I kind of have to find like that right time to film something. So for me, I found that having to wait till really late at night, especially because I wanted to make sure I got everything in the video, like what my actual page count would be, it was later. Like maybe if I tried doing like up until this point today, this is how many pages I've read, this is where I'm at currently, tomorrow I'll update you around the same time, and it could be like in the middle of the day. That might be better. I don't know. Maybe it was when I was doing the update videos.
Yeah. I think that just, I use Goodreads. You still have to make a Goodreads page. We know that. But I find Goodreads to be a really nice and easy way to just also keep kind of track for it myself, because I didn't update the books until I read a day or 2 days or something like that. So I could see, okay, this many pages I've read from that point until that point. So I just really like that, using as my own little update. But I feel like I could inform people during my readathon how far I'm going, but on the other hand, I can just also tell them at the end how I did. So
Hmm.
I sometimes kind of was thinking, is it worth my time just making a whole update video if I could use Goodreads for myself, and people who follow me on Goodreads can view my Goodreads page too.
Hmm. Yeah, see, I was checking your Goodreads page like when I'd be uploading my update video at the end of the day, so then I could see like where you were. And that's really nice because you don't have to worry about doing an update. You can just kind of update your Goodreads page. So that's
Yeah.
nice. But overall, I
Hey,
think
Goodreads page! Hey, Goodreads page! I don't know
I
where the
think it's
voice came from.
I don't really know though. Maybe it's just I need to play around with like what time or what would be the best time to do an update video, because perhaps it could be like I was just doing it at the wrong time.
Yeah. You might also do it in the morning, just for instance, on day 2 in the morning, film a video about how you did on day 1 and your plans for day 2, and then on day 3, talk how day 2 went and what you want to do for the rest of the day, that kind of stuff.
Hmm. I was even actually debating, like, after I had mentioned I was going to try to do daily updates, I got thinking, you know what, I should do, like, this whole video montage of, like, me at the end of every day, like, talking about stuff in, like, a weird vlog format, and then, like, mash all 7 videos together, and then put that into, like, one as the wrap-up video. I was thinking of doing
Yeah.
that, but I'm like, no, I said I'd do daily updates, so I might
It's a,
try doing some different things.
it's a cool idea for the next Read-a-Thon. I think it sounds
Hmm.
nice.
Yeah, like I'm just gonna start playing. Like, of course I'm gonna participate in more readathons. Like, even if I'm not hosting it, I'm gonna definitely participate in more because I like doing them. But I think, um, just like there are always positive things with readathons, I think there's also negative things. So we've really been talking about positive stuff and some negative things. Do you have some things that you wanted to maybe mention that might have been negative you found with this readathon to
Well,
try to make it better?
I didn't really, but at this point, yeah, I have with every readathon. At some point, I start to feel like I must read. It's not that I want to, I have to. And at
Hmm.
that point, I start to get bored by reading. I don't want to read, and at that point, I usually stop. So usually it needs like a week. Around day 5, 4, 5, I start to feel like that. And right now, today, I haven't read a freaking page, and that's like huge because I have been traveling for 3.5 hours today in a train and a bus, and I didn't pick up my book. I didn't feel like reading at all, and that kind of sucks because it feels bad that I don't enjoy my favorite hobby at the moment. But that's the thing that I have with every readathon, even if it's only a 2-day readathon. It's like a must. You must read, and that sometimes I don't enjoy the whole I must read. But other than that, I think that this readathon was just a lot of fun to do. I don't really have anything negative to say about this readathon particular.
Hmm. I think one thing that you mentioned that I thought was really interesting was how you get tired of reading. You kind of feel like you have to read. And that's what I meant when I mentioned on day 5, like I hit a wall. I was like, I can't go on. I'm done. I'm done. Just leave me behind. Go on. I understand. I hit that as well. um, but I think another thing is TBRs. I think those are things that I might stop showing because although I have like a set that I want to do for the TBR, like I wanted to challenge myself to read 10 books.
Yeah.
I read 6 books. One of those 619 pages. I'm gonna count that as 6 books though. And looking in my like rearview mirror at the TBR video that I made, I don't feel like I failed. I'm still really impressed by the amount of books that I read.
I felt like my goal for this readathon was to read more than I usually do. Now, normally I read maybe 2 books about 300 pages. Now I read one about 300 pages, and the second one was almost 500. So I didn't feel like I failed. I read more than I usually do, and that for me was the whole goal. I had a TBR of 5 books. I didn't manage it, and I already knew that I wouldn't manage it the moment that the week started. I just knew I had way too much work to do. I'm just going to do the best that I can, and I did, and I feel good about it. But indeed, I'm not sure if I'm going to do a TBR video. Maybe I will like select my first book, or maybe 1 or 2 books that I really want to read, that I feel at that moment I'm just like, I want to read this book right now, I need to read it. But, you know, I think that I would rather just finish a book and think like, okay, what do I want to read next? Do I want to read a classic? Do I want to read a fantasy, middle grade, paranormal book? Instead of, okay, this is the pile of books that I can select from my 3 books left. Which one am I going to pick next? I would like to give myself a wider range of choice, I guess.
And that's understandable. Like, when I was looking at my list, like, I think maybe it's a good thing that I picked more because it allowed me a chance to kind of, like, I want to read this right now, or I want to do that. And I think the good thing with how I finished the books was the fact that I set my thing at, do you know what, whatever I'm reading, I'm going to read whatever I want, like the amount of pages, but that's it. Like, once I put it down, I won't pick it back up for the day. And I think that's why I then got into my mind, do you know what, if I put this book down, I can't finish it today. So I would then get into my mind, let's finish the book. And that's how I got through the books faster. But I think having the chance to pick through and be like, I'm in the mood for this right now, it just made it a little easier for me. But I think, as you mentioned, I'm just going to probably do the same. Like, I'm not going to make a TBR video. I'm just going to have a stack of books that I'm really in the mood for. And if I want to pick from that, I will. If I don't, I won't.
Yeah, I think it's good because, you know, when I finished this Siren, I wanted something more light, something fun, and School for Good and Evil is kind of an older middle grade in my opinion, maybe a young adult or higher middle grade. And even though it's thick, I just rushed through it because it was exactly what I wanted at exactly the right time. So it didn't matter, it was almost 500 pages. It felt like 200, really. When I finished the book, I was like, wow, I need book 2 right now. I want book 2. Give me book 2 now. Come on. You know, and I think that if maybe I had picked up, for instance, Northanger Abbey was also in my TR. I love Jane Austen. If I had to pick one favorite author, it would be Jane Austen. But I don't like rushing through books. I prefer to take my time to let it all sink in because she's not going to write any new books anymore. So the moment I finish this book, I will have read it for the first time. And if I don't take time reading it for the first time, I will never get that experience back anymore. And that sucks. I don't want that. So that's usually, if I do select one of the books, I really want it as my final book. So that if I have the time, I'll pick it up. If I don't have it, then I don't mind. Because I know that at some point I will take my time picking this book up.
Exactly. And I think that it's really intriguing as well. Like, one thing you mentioned was it was what you were in the mood for, and you don't want to rush through it. And I think with having a TBR, it really makes you feel like you need to rush through the books, and you need to finish it. And I think that's the key thing. Like, I find with a lot of the readathons I've done, I think I have done TBRs for every single one, and I just feel like I need to get through them. And I think that's why I've changed my mind with the whole TBRs for readathons and not wanting to do them, because I think it will make it a little easier, not necessarily easier, but a little more smoother. There we go, a little more smoother, because I don't feel the need to have to finish them all.
Yeah, and especially with like quite a large pile. I usually read 2.5 books every week. So to have 5 on my TBR means that I want to read double what I normally read, and that's like a huge pressure. So instead, it would have been smart to just select 3 books, I think. Just like a little bit more than average, because that was my goal, reading a little bit average number of books. But you know, I still really enjoyed it. Even though I didn't finish my TBR, I still really liked it, and I'm trying to read the books that were on my TBR, still hopefully in July. Not sure, but I'm going to try to.
Yeah, see, and one thing you mentioned that is going along with, like, I'm pretty impressed. I don't feel like I failed with the amount that I read is I usually don't finish a book that fast. Like, I was finishing almost a book every single day aside from Saturday, and I don't do that normally. So, especially with the size of the books that I chose or the ones that I read, like, I'm really impressed, especially because I read The Host. That is a huge book. I read Artemis Fowl. That's been on my shelf since before I started booktubing. And I read A Spy in the House, which was in one of my first couple book hauls here on BookTube. So I'm pretty impressed. Like I was reading a wide range of like books that have been on my shelf for a small amount of time to a large amount of time and just what I was really in the mood for. And I read a lot. So I'm pretty impressed. I don't feel like I failed. And I think that's one thing that is a bit of a negative thing with readathons for a lot of people. They feel like they fail if they don't read a lot or they don't read uh, what they want to read or they don't finish everything they set aside or they didn't match up to somebody else who did a readathon. And I think that's the whole point of me saying like it's a very personal thing for everyone. What you may consider a failure, someone else who maybe is in the same area that you're in could be like, no, I did great. And that's the whole thing. Like, it's very personal. You decide if you succeeded in what you wanted to do during that week.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that you have to consider. What do I want? What kind of expectations do I have for myself, and are they realistic? I mean, when I made a TBR, it was before I found out that my week would be so busy. So the moment I found out that it was such a busy week, I was like, okay, 5 books, I'm not going to make it. Come on, that's it. No discussion with myself, no bad feelings. It's not going to happen unless I screw up all my schoolwork. No, that's not what I want to do. But I definitely believe that there are people who are like, if they're in my situation, that were like, okay, I just need to read those 5 books, I need to read them, no matter what, I need to read them. And I feel like, even though it's very fun and not as a competition, but you want to like reach your goals, it should still stay fun. And I feel like if you at the end think I failed, it's not fun anymore.
Exactly. Um, the last thing that I wanted to talk about is tips. Do you have some brilliant tips to share?
Realistic expectations to begin with.
Yep.
That's the one that I learned the most. I mean, beforehand you can think, oh, I'm going to have a very relaxed, easy, empty week, and it turns out it's not. Accept it instead of fighting it. And I would also say that if you are going to make a TBR pal, one, it's a lot of fun to let someone else pick the books. Or if you're picking your own books, I would say try to mix it up. Add a little fantasy and add a little classic, a little bit of middle grade. I think especially middle grade is great doing a readathon because they are full of action, they are fast paced, you can easily finish them. The front is really large. They are perfect reading material during a readathon.
Yes.
And I think that
Middle
those
grade.
all my tips.
Okay. Do you know what is really surprising? Your tips pretty much match the ones that I wrote down when last year I participated in the 30-day reading challenge. So I think that's one thing that's really interesting. After you finished a readathon or a reading challenge, it's pretty much the same that you always think of. Like, make smaller goals. Yeah. Like, I did 10 books, and I really wanted to challenge myself to see if I could read that amount. But the fact that I finished what I read in 7 days, the amount of pages I read, like, I'm just in shock of myself. Like, my eyes probably aren't too impressed with that whole thing that I did, but still, like, I'm pretty impressed. Another one that you mentioned is enjoyment. If you're not enjoying it, stop. Like,
Yeah,
the minute that a readathon starts to be work for you and it's not something that you're doing for fun and you're enjoying, that's when you've got a problem. That's when you need to stop because
that's
reading
how it gets
shouldn't feel
so
like that. Exactly. Okay, if you're not, then that's when you need to stop, because reading shouldn't feel like that. Reading shouldn't be a burden to you. It should be something that maybe makes you emotional with what's going on in the story, be it happy or sad. It should be something that maybe takes you away from whatever difficulty you're going through at that point in time. It should be something that you enjoy doing. It shouldn't be something where you're like, ugh, like seriously. Another thing that I wanted to mention is um, don't look at other people. Don't go and put yourself and be like, well, this is what this person did. Like, I look at the amount that you did, and I'm like, man, I wish I read 2 books, even though I read more. Like, because you know what? I remember how much I enjoyed those 2 books. So it just brings back memories to me. But don't ever go and put yourself in someone else's like read-a-thon goals and stuff, and be like, I'm gonna do exactly what they do, and I'm gonna beat them. Like, that's not the point of a read-a-thon. It's just for you personally. It's not to try to outdo someone else. And change of scenery, take breaks. I didn't really do that this year. I did change my scenery quite a lot because we had some nice weather, we had some really hot weather, we had some raining weather. I changed my scenery a lot this week, especially like if I was indoors or outside with it. And one thing I mentioned before, ending is just as important as beginning. That's one thing I mentioned back when I did the 30-day reading challenge last year, and that's something that I still really strongly believe. Like, if you're gonna begin it, finish it just as strong.
Yeah.
Especially if you're enjoying it. If you're not, then don't worry about that thing that I just said. But if you're enjoying it, then just finish just as strong. Like, finish on a high note. Be like, yeah, let's finish this thing. That was me last night before I fell asleep. Yeah. So I think that's everything that I have for this. I am planning on uploading a wrap up video tomorrow, and I'll go into detail and give you the rest of the updates. Uh, Basically telling what I read every day and the page count and things like that. But you guys got a sneak peek today. Do you have anything else to say, Maud?
No, not really. All I wanted to talk about, we've already talked about. It's all flowed so naturally. I was like, oh yeah, that's one thing I wanted to talk about. Oh, there was another thing. Hey, that was my last thing. Yes.
Okay. So was this a yay or nay for a readathon?
Yay. I will do
Yay.
it again next year. But I
Well,
will
that
have
is
more
great.
time, more free time, and I will say 3 books.
I say no TBR. We'll see where everything goes from there for me. I hope that you
say 3
guys.
books, not 3 books. At that point, I'm only going to say I want to read 3 books. What those 3 books are, I will pick them when I read the first one. But that's all.
See, that's interesting as well, because when I did the Christmas Booktubeathon, I really chose like a wide range, and with what I was reading, like I think I had a graphic novel, I had a full length novel, and I forget what else, but it was really interesting because I really liked the diversity that I had, and I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't look at that I mentioned then, and even I forgot about it this time, but I didn't have any like graphic novels or manga to read at that point in time uh, for the readathon, but I really like having a diverse range. That's another tip. Like, try to diversify what you're reading, because manga and graphic novels you can get through in like the whip of a hat. And what's interesting as well is they're really fun to read. You can get ones that are horror-ish, you can get ones that are hilarious, you can get ones that are just really heart-wrenchingly beautiful. You can get such a wide range, even action, tons of action ones as well. So
Yeah.
just a lot of diversity. I look forward to hosting this again next year. If you guys have any comments to share with Maud and I with regards to ways we can make this better, or things that you didn't like or things you did like, feel free to share them. Thank you to Philippe, the YA reader, for some comments. That was nice. Thank you, Maud. Thank you. You were like a big part of this running, actually.
Thank you, Rebecca, for asking me to join you in organizing this.
Yes, so I think that is it. I think we can sign out now. Nothing
Yes.
else going on? Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye bye.